Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. And in this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to update this right here. So if the user clicks on it, they will actually go to this single thread right here, and then a person can read it, and all this will come from the database. And obviously update the breadcrumb as well. So this is what we're going to do in this one. And obviously, as you can see in the URL right there, let me just make this a little bit bigger. In the URL, we want to add the category and obviously the slug and yes, so that's what we're going to do in this lesson. Right, so go to your code editor. So in my code editor, I got my thread controller open. I got my web routes open because this is we're gonna create a route for that. And we've got our show method right here, and then we've got our index and our thread plate component right there. Right, so let's start with the show method inside our controller. All right, what we want to do is we want to return a view. Now the view will go under pages, threads.show, right here, right? And I want to pass a compact method. Now in the compact, I'm going to have two items right there. Or I don't have to put an array, I can just do it like this. This is going to be the thread, the one that we're just passing through right there. And another one is going to be the category. Right? So I want to pass those through. And I want to model bind the category in here as well. So I'm just going to do category like this, right? And just make sure you import it at the top as well. So in up there, just make sure you import it as well. Otherwise, you're going to get the class not found. Okay. So this is basically what we want to do. So we want to return that and just pass it to the view. All right. So let's update our web route. So let's just go to our web route. So you can obviously open it like this, or you can go to the routes right there and you click on the web right there. All right, so what we want to do is let me just copy this one down. All right, I want to go to threads, and then it's going to go to the category. Okay, the category slug. All right, the category slug. The next part that I want to go to is basically the thread slug, like this. Thread, and we can just dump it with the slug, right? So there's basically what we want to go to. So if the view comes and I click on it, there must be threads, category, and then basically the thread slug. All right, and this is just going to go to the show method right here, and the name of the route will be threads.show. All right, so this is basically what we're going to do. So in our thread controller, this is it, and then we go to our show right here. All right, so let's go to your pages, thread.show. Let me just open this up. So in your resources, views, threads, the show right here. All right, so you're going there. All right, so with the start template under threads, you're just going to go to the show right here and just copy everything in there. Okay, then paste it inside your show, the threads.show. Okay, and then you can delete this one. All right, we're still going to get to the create, so don't delete that yet. You're still going to find it needed for another lesson. All right, so what we want to do now is we want to update this part right here to actually come from the database. All right, so let's quickly just see if we get to the actual route itself. All right, so let's go to our index view. So in our index view, in our thread right here, we need to update this route, the single route, to actually take us to that route that we just created in here. Okay, so let's go to index, in the thread right here, a single thread. So this will basically be the threads.show. Okay, but now we're going to require two parameters. So I'm just going to open this up with curly braces, with square brackets. All right, this is going to require two parameters. The first one is going to be the thread, okay, category, okay, and the slug, like this. All right, so just remember, the slug is a method that we're calling instead of the property, because inside my model for the category, let me just open the category model. So in here, I actually just for the name and the slug right here, we're just returning, so the properties like this. but we're calling on the method, and the method returns the property, right? Because if we want to change anything here, we can do it in our model, and we don't have to go to all our views and update it there. All right, so just wanted to show you that. So in our thread right here, okay, so we got us calling our slug, and the second parameter is basically the thread slug like this. All right, so we got we opened up an array because we need to pass the parameters. So for the thread.slug and a thread slug like this. Okay, so hopefully no errors. Hopefully it works. Okay, just see a typo right here, so that must be dot, not a comma, otherwise you're going to get an error. Okay, so basically if you hover on there, you would see at the bottom right there, it actually shows us the route, but I think it might be too small for the screen. So if we click on it, you will see our route updates with threads, general, and obviously the slug right there. Right, so this is basically coming now from the database, but obviously the view is not updated, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to update this view to actually come from the database. All right, so and we need to update that as well. So let's go to our show view and actually update it. All right, so in our show view, so I'm just going to in here. So in our show view right now, this is going to be first part. This is going to be the category. Let's just make sure the category, let's just call on the name. All right, just see if it works. Refresh. You will see we got the general right there. Okay, so that's good. And this is just going to be the title of our post. Okay, so that's going to be the title. This is going to be the title. It's a thread title. Now I'm doing it the most simplistic way so that nobody can get lost. You can obviously do it in a whole different way, but this works, and I'm going to use this. Obviously you can refactor it however you want, but what I want to do is I just want to add threads actually in the beginning. Like this, threads, and then add this as well, like this, and we can actually remove the topic. So if we go back, refresh, you will see now we got threads, general, and obviously the title like this. Okay, so that's now set up. Now let's just update our title. All right, so what we want to do now is this title right here, the H2, that comes from the database, and we're just going to do thread title. Come on. All right, but we're calling on the method. The method returns the property. All right, so this part right here, this paragraph, we're going to delete this. This is just going to return this thread. This is just going to return the body. And just remember, the body will basically be the one that's responsible for the styling and things like that, because it's coming actually from the database. And this is going to be a div. All right, I'm not going to do it as a paragraph, because the reason for that is because the WYSIWYG editor right here, it will contain its own headings and paragraphs and stuff like that, and I don't want to actually let this paragraph be the influence of that. All right, so I'm just going to do this, but remember, if it comes from the database like that, it needs to be bang bang. All right, so thread.body, because otherwise, if you don't do, let's say we leave it like this, it will actually ignore the tags that comes from the database as protection. But since we the ones that's the user, you can just do it like this, like that. All right, so it returns basically the body like that. All right, so the next part that we want to do, the likes and those things, we're not going to do. The date posted, this is part we're going to do, and we're just going to do thread created ad and div for humans. Okay, this needs to be a method. All right, so we're calling the property, and we just format it like that. This is just going to be a carbon, and the reply and all that kind of stuff we're going to get to in its own lesson. So let's refresh this. All right, as you can see, this is the amount of post obviously there is. This is the amount of text. So yes, so that person didn't have much to say. Only got that little bit to say. So let's quickly just put the person under the avatar, the name and things like that as well. So let's go back under the avatar. Just open this up. Actually, the best thing would have been if we can actually just do it like this. So what I'm thinking is, instead of, because the point of actually doing this is so that we have one central place where we can actually just bring in that component. So if we pass in the user like this, the user as thread author like this, okay, so now we pass that variable basically to this right here, and then we just update it inside the component itself like this, right? So this is obviously the button right there. What we want to do now is we will just want to add the span for the user name like this. All right, and if we do it here, we need to obviously do it for the other one as well. So, but what that does is just we don't have to keep on changing the code for. We get one center place where we do the styling instead of everywhere we need to remember where we must actually change the names and things like that. And this part right here, the image itself, right now the image is coming from the database where we from our avatars, right? But we actually want this path to actually come a little bit later when the user actually start uploading their profiles. But for now, uncomment that. Okay. Right, so what we want to do now is we just want to add obviously that styling, the same styling that we had, to text 500 gray and text small, extra small actually. So that, and let's see how it looks. If we refresh, as you can see, it looks the same as the previous one. So if we go to the main page, you will see it looks like that. And we want that just to kind of come from the avatar itself. Right, so let's go back. So when the users start uploading images, we're just going to uncomment this and delete the placeholder right here. We can obviously use Gravatar to fill in the images and spaces like that for now, but I'm just going to leave it as is for now. So in our thread model right there, we're just going to pass in the user as well, so that we have the same. Instead of doing this, we can actually just pass the thread author like this, instead of having to do this like here. So the avatar comes from the same place, and this is the same one, and then we can only change it in one place instead of different places. Okay, so we just pass under the thread right here, we just basically passing the user variable. Okay, so as you can see, nothing is supposed to have changed. All of them needs to be, as you can see, they're all the same. So if we click on this, you will actually go to the thread itself. So let's try a different one. This one right here. As you can see, threads, announcements, and that right there. Okay, so that's 3 days ago. Everything is good. All right, so that's it for this lesson. We're obviously going to get to the likes and the subscribe and things like that, and it's in time. It's with progress. So just little chunks, just to kind of let the information sink in. All right, so what we want to do in the next one is we want to do a threads create. Obviously, the user variable is undefined at the moment because we haven't passed the thread actually there. All right, so we're going to deal with that in the next one. All right, so what we want to do in the next episode is we want to do the create a thread. All right, so thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please give it a like. If you don't, obviously give it a dislike. I'm not the best, but I try. And yes, thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.